Lethal Company is a 4-player multiplayer game released on 24th October 2023 and took the internet by storm. Created by the developer Zeekerss, who started out making Roblox games such as Lightbulb and Silent Dark, he branched out to other platforms, most notably Steam, where he developed a multitude of games such as It Steals and yours truly, Lethal Company. Lethal Company has been in development for a very long time and was revealed to the world on May 26, 2022 on Zeekerss' Patreon, where he regularly updated his feed of the progression taking place on the game, all the way from artwork to music production for the in-game OST, as well as lore inspiration for the game. The game also started off as a completely different project, with the entire game taking place indoors with players exploring factories instead of planets, with the use of an elevator instead of a spaceship. Lethal Company took inspiration from a multitude of sources, with the main ones being the horror gameplay of I'm on Observation Duty, where players have to monitor live surveillance camera footage and spot anomalies in the monitored rooms. A 6-minute short film, part of an anthology film under the executive production of Katsuhiro Otomo, named Memories Magnetic Rose, with its aesthetic visuals being implemented in-game, and finally comes the SCP Foundation with its corporal secrecy being implemented in-game under the guise of the company. One interesting inspiration for the game's lore is also shown in the story of Magnetic Rose, where a deep space salvage freighter called the Corona encounters a distress signal and responds to it only coming across a spaceship graveyard. The two engineers enter the spaceship to find a lavishing European interior with no signs of life. They both split up to find a strange signal, all the while experiencing strange paranormal encounters. One of the engineers is taken by a strange anomaly residing inside, while the other is thrown into the unknown depths of space. The movie is actually good and the length is also short. I've tried my best to keep the story as vague as possible, so not to spoil anything as such, as I recommend you guys to see the movie for yourselves. I only mentioned it here to show the similarities between Lethal Company and Magnetic Rose, both of which show explorations of eerie abandoned places haunted by various anomalies. The vision of Lethal Company almost turned out to be similar to Phasmophobia, Labyrinthine, and Forewarned. But unlike them, Lethal Company is to be played solely with friends to get the best horror experience, as explained by Zeekerss himself. The core principle of horror games is contrast. To make someone feel afraid of the dark, get them used to the light. To make them feel uncomfortable in the silence, you have to make them get used to constant sound. In order to make someone feel afraid of being alone, pair them up with a friend. And that's the main principle of Lethal Company. A teamwork game emphasizing on working in groups while secretly trying to break them apart and single them out, with each one being left alone to experience the unique horror. In the game, multiple items are available for purchase. However, one of the items that was mentioned by Zeekerss was the Patcher gun that was supposed to be one of the most important items in-game, reminiscent to the Ghostbusters plasma gun. This weapon is nowhere to be found. At first I thought that its name was changed to the Zap gun, but upon reading the description for the Patch gun, it was completely different from the Zap gun, in that it was supposed to patch up the anomalies instead of just stunning it. It probably got replaced by the Zap gun due to having troubles with the anomalies, possibly making the game glitchy or laggy, resulting in its removal and replacement. In the game, there are multiple posters plastered within the ship. One of them features an emergency number for reporting technical difficulties in-game. Although initially it seemed like a cool Easter egg that will lead to interesting real-world interactions, actually calling the number does not do anything. It's confirmed by the developer himself, who is telling everyone not to call it as it is an invalid number. The Bracken was the first enemy monsters to be made and was known by two names: Flowerman, which it was originally supposed to be called, and Oliver, which was a nickname given to it by the developer, and the feature of him sneaking up behind players and snapping their necks was not a feature at all, but was actually a bug that the developer decided to make a feature because he thought it will suit the overall characteristic of the creature. Enemy mechanic design and the scan system mechanics were inspired by Splatoon and Metroid Prime respectively. Zeekerss wanted his enemies to work together to attack the players in a synergistic way rather than individually attacking them in an awkward way, much like Splatoon's PvE mode Salmon Run, where the enemies were thoughtfully designed to work with each other, taking unique positions in the level and traversing it in as many ways as possible so they don't hinder one another. As for the scan system, the original thought was to give players the scan visor similar to the one in Metroid Prime before setting it to appear on the HUD instead of the visor. There is a secret mechanic in the game called as the sanity system, where the more a person spends time alone, the more noises he hears, giving the impression that the person is in fact not at all alone and will stay anxious whether he is stalked by an entity or is near a fellow teammate. Due to this mechanic, by the end of the game, whenever a player finishes it, there is a note that says that the most paranoid one is the one who sustained the most damage. And in certain cases, he may also see monsters exclusively after spending time alone, and his fellow teammates may not be able to witness it, such as the ghost girl. In the passageway under the main company headquarters, you can find a small submarine-like object. This is in fact called Desmond's drill, and as of yet it does not have a main function in game, but to summarize, it's a drill made by Desmond, who was one of the teammates of Zeekerss. He decided to make this drill in order to breach the company wall to find out what's truly behind it. As you all know, the story of Lethal Company is very vague and linear, with not much directly explained to the players, but with the help of logs present in the terminal, we get a brief outline into the world of Lethal Company. The game takes place 500 years into the future in an alternate timeline where humans have revolutionized space travel way before the moon landing occurred. The world is in a cosmic economic collapse with food shortage everywhere, and a single company is dominating the corporal market. It recruits people of Earth with propaganda-style posters promising good pay and, of course, food. It recruits people to send them off in space to nearby planets and moons, where the recruits have to collect very odd scraps and sell them to the company located on a moon, as shown by a large wall residing there. What's frightening is that no one knows why the company is demanding this, and what's worse is that the company's turnover rate is very high, meaning that employees are constantly being replaced because they end up dying very quickly. All of this information can be found in Zeekerss' log file, who worked for the company in the year 1968. And they mostly show his experiences working for the company and how the company is not what it appears to be. In one of the logs, Zeekerss asks his fellow teammate to trace the call when talking to the company, and here they find out that they are disguising the call as if they are speaking from their headquarters located on the ocean moon where scraps are sold. But in fact, they are transmitting the signal from beyond the solar system. From the logs, we also come to know that the company headquarters on the moon is holding something behind it, something monstrous, and the scraps that the players collect throughout the game is used to feed it. In return, the player gets paid. It is possible that the main objective of the company is to keep this monster from consuming other planets, as shown by another log called the Golden Planet, which is said to have been consumed by this monster. And to stop this, they use disposable people to do the task, replacing them each time they die. The company themselves are situated outside the solar system, possibly being a single life form, judging from the way that they refer to themselves as the company each time we make a deposit. It could also be that the solar system that the game takes place in is completely separate from the one where Earth is. and the company probably sent people there to feed the monster as a sort of punishment for the employees who themselves could be prisoners or who could have committed crimes, or it could be that they are human clones as, according to the logs, they cannot remember properly who they were before joining the company. Overall, the lore of Lethal Company is very vague, but this vagueness is what makes it so much scary and interesting. Why are the planets and moons abandoned? What's behind that giant wall? Why can't these people remember anything? These questions of the unknown is what makes Lethal Company so much lethal.